Hi, I'm Steve Kirsch. I'm usually writing articles on my Substack, but I wanted to take a break here just to give you a tip for how to create a real-time LUT for your Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera that I recently got. And it took me forever to do this. And the reason is that I basically trusted the automatic correction that's in Davinci Resolve, so that when you have a color checker video like this one from X-Rite, which is this is a remarkable tool. This is well worth the investment. If you're buying a Blackmagic product and you don't have one of these, you're missing out. This is really required if you want to have the best color. So you get one of these things and then your life changes, and you have to see the right video, and I'll put the video in the comments here so you can know what video you have to watch besides this one. But the problem that I did, and I found out when I watched that video, which is at the very end, do not use the automatic corrector, where you go into Davinci Resolve and you use the little color picker to match the outline of the template with this video passport. Actually, the color checker video, the full-size one, this is the one you want to get. And when you do it automatically, you get just horrible results. And when you increase especially when you increase the brightness, it is just not the way to do it. So it's way better if you spend the few minutes more to do it manually and match it up as in the video that I will link to, than if you try to do it using the automatic template technique. And this is described in the video, but it was learning that key piece that made all the difference for me. And then doing it, of course, with the video checker, so you can set what the contrast is and the colors. And let me just show you very quickly. And it turns out that once you then create your 33-point LUT and you upload it into the camera, that's still not enough. I had to use vMix in order to do some final tweaks in order to get it just the way I wanted. And then I used the card again to check for the contrast and the colors and the saturation and so forth. So let me just show you what my final settings are. I'm going to cut over here so you can see my screen, and let's go over and look at the color corrections. So these are the corrections that I had to do in vMix, and look at the saturation amount, but everything else was on. But I had to do these tweaks, even though I had it perfectly in Davinci, and uploaded it, and I was surprised that I needed to do these extra tweaks to the saturation, to the lift, gamma, and gain in vMix in order to get the video feed that I wanted. So let me now show you what the video feed looks like. Here's the parade. So here I'm wiggling my head here, and then here is, let me show you the Vectorscope. Whoops, sorry. Let me show you the Vectorscope here. And so this is just with me, and then here's with the color checker on. So you can see I'm not quite getting all the way there as to where I should be. I should be to those first boxes, but that seemed to be oversaturated to me. So but that's the kind of result that you can get. And of course, it was perfect in Davinci, and then when you upload it to the camera in your real life, you find that hey, it's not perfect, and the levels are much lower, right? Because I had to increase the gain. So I was kind of surprised. I expected to make the LUT and then just use it and no tweaks, but I found that I needed to do these extra tweaks when it's actually used in real life. And I'm going from the Blackmagic camera that I'm looking at to, I've got an A10 Mini on the side here, and then that feeds into my computer, which then and then it goes into vMix to do all the fancy work. So that's my setup. I'm now really pleased with the results, but I can tell you I was tearing my hair out. I spent weeks trying to do this the sort of the correct way. Here, let me show you my Davinci Resolve screen here. So these are all, I went through 21 different versions of the LUT. Finally, version 22, where I just did it the old-fashioned way, where it's basically a lift gamma gain node, the white balance node. I set the saturation, this thing down here, so that the dots would be, pretty much lined up. Here, I mean, you can see here's the red, here's the yellow, here's the green, and so forth. So everything was lined up here. You can see that I had, it's just perfect. And, surprisingly, yeah, that didn't turn out to be the case. Anyway, hue versus hue. So interesting here. Let's go and look at the curves for hue versus hue. So you can see the kinds of changes I had to make, and you always hit the dot here and then adjust it here. Don't try to move the dots here because you're going to get it, you're going to move it sideways. So you always want to hit the dot for the dot you want to adjust, and then use this thing to go and move the dot in the direction. But you can see the hue versus hue that I had to change. Now I have these, they're Key Light Airs from Elgato. It's funny, Elgato. I mean, it reminds me of Elgato Malo, who's a friend of mine on Substack. Anyway, so these Key Light Airs, they're LED lights. They don't have, they don't really quite do the job here. I've got one of these Sekonics to actually look at the spectral similarity index of these lights, and they're basically not as good, not nearly as good as they want you to believe. But anyway, so this is the kind of mess I had to go and adjust. It didn't take too long. I mean, this took only a few minutes time to do. And then the hue versus saturation. Let's look at that. Well, see, that changed a lot because I had to drag some of these dots over, especially the green here. You can see I had to drag the green a lot, and the cyan a bunch here, and so also the magenta. So these were sort of non-trivial changes, but the results speak for themselves. And of course, it looks perfect in Resolve. Then you go, you click on the thing. You said generate LUT. You generate a 33-point cube because the 60-point cube isn't accepted by the Blackmagic camera. So you take your cube out. You have to go and find it, as to where it's generated. To find where that LUT gets generated, you could go over to settings here, go over to color management. You scroll down, and then you click here to open your LUT folder. And this is where it saves the LUTs to, so you can go and find the LUT that it just saved for you. And I think there's a preference for actually where you save the LUT when you hit save. Anyway, that's then you upload it into the card and the camera, and you upload it into the camera, and you're done. And then you do the final tweaks in vMix, even after doing all this stuff, and you'll have yourself a LUT on the camera, which you can use for real-time streaming to make videos using your Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera, and everything will be matched up. So I hope that's helpful. If I had seen this video when I first started, it definitely would have saved me weeks of tearing my hair out, and I finally was lucky enough to find that great video on doing it the manual way. And the key wasn't mentioned at the very end. Do not use that automatic color picker tool. And we're talking about this tool here, where it matches you up, and you always want to use the right one. So I was using the color checker video. If you use this and you use the color chart here and match it all up, that is not the way to do it. Do not do that. That was my big mistake, is doing it that way. And so I hope this is useful to you. You really want to use the color wheels here for your lift gamma gain corrections, and then use the dropper for the white balance and so forth, just like they say in the video. Anyway, hope this is useful to people, and hopefully it will save you a lot of time.